Easter Sunday, Stugotz, at Miami Magic City Casino, rather. I'm sorry I got the name wrong. I can't believe that Stugotz.
Well, it was in the Magic City Fronton. We weren't really in the casino.
Yeah, it's a fine. Anyway, what happened?
Battle Court champs, Stugotz.
Yeah.
Cesta Cyclones.
Mm-hmm.
Best highlight team in the world.
Nice.
We had a championship celebration that everyone's going to be talking about. I literally said to the server, all the beers. All the beers. They ran out of beers. What a championship celebration that at the end of the night cost me $107.
The beers can be. The beers are still cheap at Highlight.
All the beers are $107.
I said nobody's cup goes empty for the remainder of tonight's celebration.
But was it indeed
$107?
Was it dollar beers? Was it because
they had like a $2 special on? It was incredible, and also I won the pick'em, so I got a share of $1,000. And I just paid for the bill.
We're winners. We're winners today. The Panthers have a 10-game winning streak.
Yeah.
I heard Mike yelling about President's Cup.
We have a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 points back of the Colorado Avalanche. Don't get me started on those guys. Haven't forgiven them for 96.
They've got. I thought you didn't like talking about 25 years ago.
Yeah, but I can still carry the resentments. It was a sweep, but man, Game 4 was electric.
The 96 Lanch, huh? Was that Forsberg?
That was Forsberg.
Patrick
that was
Sakic. Yeah.
Foot.
Game 4 was electric. Was it triple overtime? It went.
Yeah.
It went triple overtime.
I got. My mom let me stay up. That's how important it was. It was a school night, and we almost scored, but the puck went behind the net, and everybody threw the rats, and it really killed what was a great goal scoring chance.
Because everyone thought it was a goal, and that ended there, right? You're not allowed to throw things on the ice anymore. Detroit started that with.
Yeah, you can still do it. It's actually a little harder now with the nets that they have set up, but you can throw stuff. If someone has a hattie, you throw your hats.
I love a hattie.
And now at the end of the game, you throw your rats on the ice. But to answer your question, Stugotz, the sunglasses we raged so hard. Manu, Manny, Carballo, Jedin, Joseph.
Chris Cody owns the team and was on vacation. Who does that during the championship? They went last to first.
Yes. So, look, we all have our problems with Chris. His team was heartbroken that he wasn't there. A stunned Magic City Fronton when the redhead that dressed like Aaron Neville did not show up to support his team. Look, to Chris Cody's credit, he was a tremendous owner. The Cyclones told me this much when we were celebrating. They said,
Was?
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
Really? Was.
He was a tremendous owner.
Mike, before you go forward here, it's worst to first. That's a fun.
So they were a rudderless ship before
$1.
Chris Cody got there. They told me this. We had no energy. We didn't know what direction we were going, and we just got swept. And Chris came in here with all his energy and all this positivity, and we really fed off of that. It gave us a direction. It turned the season around. And then when the entire show came out and got behind Manny, when he played hurt and beat the runners-up, the eventual runners-up, Wall Warriors, that was
with indigestion. It was his flu game. He had bubble.
Being Manny.
He had bubble gut.
That's what he does.
It turned the season around, and I was devastated to learn that Chris Cody wasn't going to be there for his guys. These guys bled for him. They sweat for him. And he decided to go on a cruise because he thought the cruise was more important than our Cyclones. And I was just going to be there as a representative, but then getting swept up in the emotion, celebrating last night, hearing all the stories, speaking with Manu and going through the strategy that goes into a very powerful game. This is one of the best backcourt players on the planet.
You were partying with the players. I saw you.
Yeah, the players were sipping beer out of the Battle Court cup. It was a tremendous experience. I was like, guys, I don't want to lift the cup. This is all you. And
Jessica,
they're like,
why are you
no,
making faces?
No,
why?
We
Jessica,
insist.
Jessica, this
Well, why
was
not?
this
I
was
mean-
a wonderful celebration.
How did Mike end up owning the Cesta
Well,
Cyclones?
wait a minute. Wait. What do you mean?
Wally
He,
Pitt?
what do you
I
mean?
mean-
He
He's
owns
acting
the-
like he just won the
Well,
championship.
I did.
He did.
It's my team now.
What?
Hostile takeover. Many of you may not know this, but I was very early on. I was initially approached by Magic City Casino.
Oh,
You brokered
okay.
you brokered the Meadowlark deal.
I did, and we thought Chris would be the right fit because he displayed wonderful leadership skills and a real energy for this project. But then a heel turn at the last second,
What
deciding
happened,
to go
Billy?
on a cruise
No.
over the championship.
No.
game.
It seems like you didn't want to be every Sunday at a Fronton until they were going to win the championship, and then it was like, oh, Chris is gone.
Well, he
My
got
team
he
now.
got ownership of the team. Was Chris there every Sunday?
No.
Yeah, he was. Every Sunday he was putting up videos of him there by himself.
But how could you
I
not?
felt bad.
But how could you not go to the championship
No, you
game?
didn't.
And what do you mean he felt bad? He was.
I
the
thought about
illustrious-
going, and then I was like, oh, I'm not going on Easter. That's insane.
Right.
And then I found out that was the last week, and I'm like, well, I guess I'm never going to go. And,
In
and Uli
fairness-
Monster was there yesterday.
Yeah.
Why did they have their championship game on Easter?
bad
That's
timing.
come
no,
on.
No. Highlight and
He is
Easter.
risen, and so is the championship trophy.
Yep. Highlight and Easter go together like football and Thanksgiving. This is a known thing.
Yeah.
Also, I wouldn't have been there, but I celebrate Greek Orthodox Easter, and that was next week, so I really caught a break.
I'm stunned by what's happened here. I want to get to the Heat playoff victory, and we will in a second.
It's my team now.
But this is a betrayal, and Chris isn't even here to fight for his team. It is
Classless, by the way. Not a single tweet congratulating his guys.
Right. He wasn't here to fight
Disgusting
with his
stuff.
team.
Maybe they didn't pay for
right.
cruise Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
You got Chris Cody on a cruise with his dad. This is pathetic. He's a grown man. I say this as someone who hosted a television show next to my father for 10 years as an adult in my 40s.
I woke up this morning, 5 a.m., couldn't fall back asleep. Go on Twitter. First tweet I see is the Miami Herald, and it's Greg Cody's podcast article that they post every Monday morning. And the image is Greg and Chris on Zoom on a cruise in different rooms, Zooming the Greg Cody Show with Greg Cody.
They did their show from the cruise?
Yeah, I
then
considered
he
listening
shoulda-
to it this morning on
You
my
should
way
have
in.
said something about the team winning,
Yep.
then. Yeah, no, you get squatters' rights. This is your team now.
They did
Yep.
they did his show. They did his show, but they don't have time for our show, and they don't have time to do highlight, and they don't have time to celebrate their championship while working from vacation, but not here.
You know what Joseph told me after the game? After we lifted, Joseph is the guy that really spurred on the rally in game 2. After Manu told him about his positioning, and he had a backflip, and it gave us a commanding 2-0 lead. He looked me in the eye, and he pointed up to the Chris Cody banner. that said
Joseph did.
owner. Yeah.
Okay.
And he looked me right dead in the eye again, and he said, "You cruise, you lose."
Truer words have never been spoken. Billy, you've retreated now because this is a betrayal. That Mike taking his team back now that they're champions is ultimate front running. He's just searching the globe for another team. He's got to pour all that Cleveland Browns he's got into something like the renounced.
I think that's what this was.
I couldn't believe how excited you were.
Highlight is my passion.
You should sign Baker Mayfield.
No, we have off the field concerns. Look, we have such great guys in our locker room. That's really just a curtain
Right.
with a bunch of exercise bikes from
It's
a
not
Bally's
much. Oh,
wholesale.
wait. I was in a highlight. Hold on. I was in a highlight, the locker room, the glamorous locker room era, 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very small. It felt like an elementary school locker room.
When I was strapped to a gurney.
Very small showers. How long ago was that?
I don't know. 18 years ago?
The Magic City Fronton. Highlight locker rooms have really come a long way. It's very spacious, but it's a shared locker room, and just hearing all the personal stories, really getting to know my guys. I'm not letting go of this team. This is my team. I'm really excited to learn what the next steps are. First things first, I am owed a giant oversized check of $50,000, and we'll see where that goes. Probably my pockets.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be interesting when
As
he gets
team
back. Well, he'll want that, right? He'll
Too
want
bad.
that.
You cruise, you lose.
Mm-hmm. That's what Joseph says.
Easter Sunday, Magic City highlight. If you missed it, I'm sorry, but the Meadowlark Media's highlight team is a champion today. Best, the dying sport.
Now you're doing that thing where you're making it Meadowlark Media's team. It's not Meadowlark Media's team. It was Chris's team, not Mike's team.
It's my team.
Yeah, just because they win doesn't mean it's Meadowlark's
This
team
is-
now.
this is a
Meadowlark
takeover.
bought it for Chris.
What?
Yes.
They
that-
bought the team?
Chris
Yes.
never owned it?
Chris,
Wow.
What?
Chris did own it.
Oh.
Chris got all of the paperwork while I was away. I found this out when I came in, and he's wearing a cowboy hat and he's got a walking stick, and I'm told that Chris Cody is now the owner of a highlight team. These negotiations were done over my head.
Was the owner.
Mm-hmm.
Hostile takeover. I have a controlling interest in this team. and we're Battle Core champions now. My team.
How
Go
much does
Clones.
How much does a highlight team cost?
That's a good question.
Just out of
If
curiosity.
you have to ask, you can't afford it.
Right. Well,
Open the books. Show us, Mr. Owner.
Well, we'll wait till the owners' meetings. Again, I need to see the oversized check.
We're filing a Freedom of Information Act.
The journalism arm of Metal Arc Media.
This is a private enterprise, and we will do no such thing.
where are the owners' meetings? I mean, it can't be Palm Beach, right? For highlight. I mean,
Take us behind the curtain.
To the poker room.
It's in Hialeah, not Hialeah. Hialeah and Hialeah.
Actually, no, I got to fly out to the Basque country. And where they invented the game.
Like
Yeah.
the breakers
There's
out there.
Yeah,
the
there's an
breakers.
ancient Spanish wall that was left over from the Spanish Armada, where
back to the beginning.
where the first
Right.
where the first highlight players bounced the first pelota.
So you've really you've gotten to the elite levels of where the sport was born, and you now get to go to the meetings. Chris Cody was going in a cowboy hat and a walking stick through the historic bejeweled palace where our highlight was born.
This was a massive achievement. I thought that I thought that the players would be really confused by me being there, would want nothing to do with me, and I didn't know how deeply they cared about this. Some people have been playing this for 20 years. Some people have to great financial detriment too, because this isn't their only jobs in most cases. They make this happen for their lives, and they were so excited. It was really a crowning achievement. They really turned the season around. They held Chris in high regard. But then Joseph looked me dead in the eye, said, "You cruise, you lose." So they know they know who's there. They know who was there 2 weeks out of the season. Me.
Can I go back for a second, Jessica? Were you saying that on the front page of the Miami Herald is
No, it was on Twitter, Dan, and I went back to the tweet, and apparently they're not on the cruise ship in the photo, so I would like to amend my earlier comment, but I would like to also add that I did see it at 5 a.m., and they both looked like they were in little cruise rooms.
I know for a fact Chris Cody has cell phone signal and the ability to communicate. The fact that he hasn't sent off a congratulatory message to my Cesta Cyclones
Disgusting.
tells you everything you need to know about that absentee owner. Cruise, you lose.
What's crazy to me that they would be on a cruise, the Codys, both of them, together.
Why? It's a family. They have grandkids. It's
but
the whole
I
thing.
say
Seems
that
like a nice time.
Yeah.
I'd say that as someone who went on my parents' 50th wedding anniversary and got into a lot of trouble with ESPN for leaving for a month during the football season. I'm mocking myself. I'm mocking myself.
Where'd you go?
there.
Where was this?
We went to Russia.
Rush? What?
What?
Yeah, we went to Russia.
Romantic.
Yeah, my parents, they went on a cruise and we went with them. Yes.
Oh, the Ruskies.
And I got in trouble because it was the middle of the football season.
I know that the Cesta Cyclones captured the imagination of really the world. I think the stream got as high as to 93 people on Twitch.
Wow.
And
That's up, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. That's higher than usual. Let's just say that.
Well, take us behind the curtain, though. You said you
Literally?
were celebrating. Yes,
'Cause-
that's what I'm
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
I'm literally asking you the curtain that is the locker room.
Yeah, it was. I went over there. I'm like, I'm so sorry about Chris, and they're like, "No, you've been here. We know." And I'm like, I can't touch this cup or anything like that. No, we want you here. You're the best owner. I was like, guys, no, you really rallied us on. We heard every word, and they really did because the voice carries.
And you were
Fronton.
emotional.
I was. My baby Jules, she kissed the cup. We all had Holy Sacrament from
What happened,
the
Billy?
Battle Core
That's
cup.
bad parenting.
No, she
Kissing that.
kissed it first.
She was kissing it a lot.
Yeah.
Taking her to highlight.
And I think I just think it's really important to remember this feeling. Being at the top of the mountain, all 93 people that were watching on Twitch and 17 that were on IG Live when the dude that tweeted out Aaron Donald is the beast pulled me over. Yeah. I think we should use this positive momentum. Like, we need to build generations of High Life fans, and that is why I am asking on Miami-Dade County to build us a new facility.
Okay, let's see if we can get that Melreese property instead. It would be better use of that Melreese property than what the soccer team wants to use it for.
Just maybe a couple tax subsidies.
This is ridiculous. He's already asking for a new stadium paid for by the city.
Public-private partnerships
Give me
already
a
begin.
break.
No, it's not going to be your money. It's going to be from tourists.
the
Don't
tourist
worry about
tax,
that. If
yes.
a tourist lays their head on a pillow down here in South Beach, that goes to the new Fronton. Don't worry about it.
The reason, Jessica, that I was asking about Greg Cody and Chris Cody on the cover of the Miami Herald, even though you said that might not have been how it was, is because I couldn't believe in the present times picking up a Fort Lauderdale Sun-Sentinel this weekend. And I'm not kidding you when I say half the front page was about the disaster around Oakland Park because the drive-in to Chick-fil-A has people in the street, and it's always so long that half of the front page of the paper was Chick-fil-A overflow making traffic a mess near Oakland Park. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what passes for front page news anymore.
I love local news. Like, that is a great local story. Yeah.
So do I.
You're living in Fort Lauderdale, maybe you're vacationing in Fort Lauderdale. You're like, what the hell's going on this street every day? Why is there always so much damn traffic? And then you open, well, you don't even have to open it. You buy your newspaper, and the local news, the journalists are on it. They said, you know what? This Chick-fil-A overflow traffic causing a traffic jam. You're not going to get that if you don't have local news.
I guarantee you at the next meeting of the Oakland Park local government, there will be thousands of concerned citizens there.
Not thousands.
Well informed.
You'd be one of them, right?
By
At
their
least 93.
newspaper.
You would be.
Damn right I would be.
You'd lead them, yes.
I kind of want to go even though I don't live in Oakland Park. Can I go?
You would, Dan.
I think that you need to
You
take
should.
up this
Yes.
cause the way that Chris Cody took up his cause. I think that
Be on a cruise for the public meeting?
I'd like to quickly amend Jess's amendment of her original statement. It looks like they might have been on the cruise because the description says, join us on a boat, the biggest boat in the world. So they were on the cruise when they did this.
Hell yeah, I was right.
Did you say there was a $50,000 check?
Yeah.
50 grand.
Yeah, the owner gets presented. We've already talked out the ceremony and all that.
wait, you get it?
Yeah, I get it. I'm the owner.
Are we going to have a parade?
I'm talking to people. Look, Manny, who is one of 4 people on the planet that makes success, says he's kept the sport alive quite literally. There's only
4 people on the planet that make cestas?
Yeah. Huh. Manny is one of them. He helped quite literally keep the
How
sport
many
alive.
machines make them, though?
They're all handmade. There are no machines. No machines. Yeah. I learned that
seems
when
like
I went
it's
to
a classic Manny, Whopper.
I learned that when I went to the Basque country. I was there for a party at Ibiza, but on the way over there.
You should really open a Basque pro shops where you can make more of them.
Hey.
We all got that post-championship glow, huh? A great time.
The Heat, Stugotz, if they will not lose a game if that's how they shoot from 3. They will not lose a game the entire playoffs.
They'll go 16-0.
Duncan Robinson produced, and no one will remember this as time goes by, one of the great epic shooting nights I've ever seen. All contested threes, all money, one of the best shooting performances I've ever seen. And
Burned it all up, man.
just, oh my God.
I thought you were talking about PJ Tucker.
Him too.
He was great.
Man, that flip
That's what he
shot.
does. Yeah.
That flip shot.
It's ridiculous.
It's
He
incredible.
shot put something from over there, and he goes 4 for 4, and we're like, where's that been for 8 weeks, PJ?
And the story is foul calls. The Hawks lost by 30, and they're complaining because there was one. I mean, he did get fouled twice, actually. They should have called the flagrant on Tyler Hero, and Kyle Lowry forearm shivered him to the face. But he got plenty of calls. The Hawks got so many calls. That game was so poorly officiated at the start. I think the mechanic has a hatchet buried in his back. Couldn't buy any calls. Literally kept them in the game when they were having their worst shooting performance of the season. They got boat raced. That was ugly. It was a 30-point defeat. Trae Young had his worst game as a pro. It was disgusting. And you want to talk officials? Out of here. And Charles Barkley, the hell you on, man? Did you hear him? His halftime analysis? The Miami Heat do have one of the greatest defenses, but that's also their greatest weakness.
Yeah, he did say that. That was a sentence that came out of his mouth.
The argument that this is in fairness to an asinine quote. It's like, because if you're so good at defense, then you're constantly switching. And if you're switching, there has to be a mismatch on the court. Yeah, I guess if the center gets on Kyle Lowry in the post, there's a mismatch conceivably. But give the Miami Heat credit because they have these all-world defenders. The whole strength is when we switch, it's not a mismatch. And Bam Adebayo didn't make the Defensive Player of the Year Final 3. Disgusting
Mike,
stuff.
I need you to calm down, okay? I need you to settle
fired
down.
up, Dan.
But
He won a
he's
championship
right.
last
You
night.
said something was disgusting. You said it was disgusting. And I feel you from here, okay? because Charles, for a while now, this has been happening with Charles, and he's a legend and he's great as Charles, but he ages like the rest of us age, and he sort of missed on how Golden State was going to win a championship and how positionless ball changed, as he's saying a jump shooting team will never win as the game changed right in front of it. You have bad analysis here because Charles doesn't understand that one of the freakish things about the Miami Heat is that Bam Adebayo can be out there with Trae Young, and good luck, Trae. And we know you're great, Trae, but that was terrible. That was the worst.
I mean, one of 12.
But that's worse you've ever looked, and it's because, do you know how ridiculous it is athletically, Stugotz, as the game's changed, that they have a defender. This is where Mike's mad about why is he not Defensive Player of the Year. They have a defender who can guard Trae Young. Like anyone he guards, their percentages go way down with him, anyone. And so that he can switch out there and make the game hard from way out there where Trae Young likes to play. I'm sure he will have a great shooting night in this series. I'm sure the Heat won't shoot like that. But what made the Heat the 1 seed this year is what they have on defense there.
I understand. Mike, don't get too worked up about it because people aren't taking the team seriously because there's no superstar, quote unquote superstar. Bam got disrespected. Like, live under the radar. That's a good place to be. No one taking you seriously.
It bums me out. The team deserves way more credit. This is one of the most disrespected NBA teams that I can ever remember. And they're the 1 seed. And they're given the benefit of the doubt to a goddamn 9 seed right now. We're talking about Trae Young. No, this is about the Miami Heat.
Right.
This is about the Miami Heat having the season that they did, having to survive all the injuries that they did, to have a path that sees them potentially only having to get through the Atlanta Hawks, who suck, by the way, and the Philadelphia 76ers, who also suck, by the way.
Listen to me.
Let them
Listen
win.
to me.
Who cares?
Let it never be about the Heat and always
Game one
about
of the
Trae Young and the
playoffs.
refs, Mike. Don't worry about it.
Mike,
Let it
won
always
by
be
20
about that.
Mike,
Mike, you
Yes.
need to
Who
settle
cares?
down,
No
Mike.
respect.
Mike,
No
it's one
respect.
game.
Mike,
Mike,
you're-
you're
Mike,
one
you're- you're
Just like
revving-
the Cyclones
Mike,
said, we're going to come and take
Mike,
that
you're
respect.
revving too hot. It's game 1. Settle down.
I will say, though, I was thinking about this weekend. How did the Heat become like a small market irrelevant team? It's kind of strange. Like, the Pelicans have a beat writer from ESPN, and the Heat don't. Like, they flew in McMenamin because the Lakers are out of the playoffs, so McMenamin got shifted to the Heat beat. Like, how did we arrive
Well,
here?
the season started, you thought the
where
Lakers would be good, and the Heat wouldn't.
The
You got to
Heat are
shift.
plucky underdog 1 seeds.
It's this room. Everyone's just tired of
Yeah.
hearing this. So they said, you know what? We're not giving them a reporter. We're done with Heat culture. We're done
They
with
are
all
done
of
with
this.
they are done
no
with
more.
culture. But then let me go back a week. The Athletic reported that rival players are speculating that Jimmy Butler, worn down by demands of Heat culture, could seek trade if it doesn't work out this spring. And I love that as the qualifier. Well, if they win, it'll be fine with everything. But like, if it doesn't
Both
work
sides.
out this spring, like, this is where the playoff story starts. Okay. Jimmy Butler, who's going to make $50 million in 3 years. I mean, I love this part of the story. Is Jimmy Butler too much Jimmy Butler for Heat culture, or is Heat culture too much Heat culture for Jimmy Butler? And those ridiculous things colliding.
It's a good question. I got to be honest.
I actually do think that's a question.
That
worth
is a
exploring.
clash of two mammoth forces.
But the journalism here is a little dicey.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Players from rival teams speculate.
That was
Come on,
a weird.
man.
That was a strange report.
Come on.
Rival
My favorite
executives are
cons.
ready in
Yeah.
case the Heat. Like, that's not a report. That's a
No,
we're
it's a
hoping
report.
Jimmy Butler becomes available.
Also, we're hoping that Jimmy Butler becomes available. Let's be honest.
Whoa.
Let's be honest about all of this. That's
no.
that
You're
is
done with Jimmy
Oh,
already?
no.
No,
Mike,
I'm
not if you win a title.
Mike, slow down.
He
Mike,
gave him
Mike,
everything
if
he
we win a
had.
title, it's all good.
Mike,
Good, okay.
you are
It's all good.
crazy.
See how exhausted he
It's
was
all
in the
good.
bubble?
Mike,
Come on, man.
Everything he had.
We all saw
Sure.
age 36, $50 million. Like, come on. We know where this is headed.
Mike,
Unless you win a title.
Oh, then we're all good.
Mike, I need you, okay, because you're a raving loon and it's been one game. And
He's already worked himself
No.
into, I don't want Jimmy
Wait,
Butler.
okay.
As the excuse for when the Heat lose in the playoffs. It's Jimmy's fault. I don't want him.
He's screaming.
I
about
broke up
these-
with him first, even though it was second.
He's screaming about these loser Hogs
They
complaining
suck.
about the fouls of down 30. But I need to go back for a second. And I need to examine just what a crazy person this team makes you, because you've been weaned since a child on all the things that make you a crazed Cyclone champion today.
The Cones.
It's clones. Cones never made any sense.
Wow, you
It's
changed
clones.
it.
It's clones.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, cones made no
We're not
sense.
cones anymore?
I had a problem with it from day one. It made no sense.
All right.
There's an L right there.
Clones it is.
What am I gonna do with all these Go Cones t-shirts?
Oh.
And send them to Chris Cody, whatever dock he's at.
I need you to calm down because
Nassau.
you have careened in the last 12 months between I can't lose Duncan Robinson. Under no circumstances can we lose Duncan Robinson. They give him $90 million. I regret the Duncan Robinson contract. I regret. And then Max Strus is starting. And you watch a game yesterday where you're like, oh, they almost made the move that would have made that Gallinari out there for them. And okay, he'll hit mid-range twos and be smooth and frustrating, and he'll have some nice games. But Gallinari's not this team. That would have been a mistake to attach the pressure of getting Gallinari, I think.
Yeah, the Miami Heat as a 1 seed, when you look at this roster construction, it's a whole bunch of people that were on unsettled ground. Gallinari didn't want to sign. He didn't want to give the Miami Heat flexibility with his cap number. He wanted a longer term deal. And that's why he's not a member of the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat, we had internal discussions. Look, I have a record of everybody that wanted to trade Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo for Russell Westbrook. I remember that was a conversation that we were having 2.5 years ago. So, and we had all the Harden for Hero stuff. The Miami Heat are here because they stood pat, no pun intended. They're probably going to have a decision to make in the future about Jimmy Butler. I do think there is obviously merit to how exhausting Jimmy Butler is as a personality. He is worn out his welcome in several places. That fight that he had with Spoelstra was an ugly scene. That is not something that bleeds out over the court. And that was something that was bottled up that we all saw explode out there. And the fact that Spo kept it going afterwards, I think is the biggest indicator, that Jimmy is exhausting. Confirmed.
He was good yesterday, man. Mike, he was good yesterday.
But what I'm going to go back on...
He's a tremendous basketball player.
I know he is, Mike.
Stugotz, he was good yesterday, and, I saw the stats that were Jimmy Butler interviewed after the game, and Jimmy Butler, 21 points, and leader of the team. And when
it's 9 of 15,
and
too.
No, yes, and when it feels like that, you're like, holy shit, okay, we get it. But he was not the best player in that game. Duncan Robinson had a shooting night that I mean, you can make these things common, as PJ Tucker says. That's one of the best shooters I've ever seen. He had a shooting night on contested threes after being benched, as LeBron James co-signs Kyle Kuzma on Twitter saying, man, Miami can really produce young players.
Two birds, one passive-aggressive stone.
Strus. I mean, I want to examine this for a second, because that happened yesterday where the world is watching here, playoff basketball, and Kuzma, who's got all his followers, says, holy shit, Strus, Duncan, they'll like Vincent, the Heat will find them and groom them and develop them. And then LeBron co-signs on that with facts and says they're great at that. And you look back at the last 10 years and you're like, oh, yeah, LeBron, if you had stayed here, that would have happened around you for 10 years.
While he quote tweets one of the young players that he decided to not develop and send to Washington for Russell Westbrook.
Also, that would not have happened around LeBron James.
Westbrook would have happened.
No, LeBron James wants 37-year-olds around him. And we know this because that's what he had this season. And it's been a steady slew of Dwight Howards and Carmelo Anthonys and old guys. LeBron James kind of adopted the Pat Riley philosophy of, I want old guys. When asked about a 2027 first-round pick that the Lakers to be traded, he goes, I don't care about draft picks. I don't care about young guys. And he's demonstrated that for 12 years. And so I don't think the development would have happened around him because he wants veterans who are ready to win championships.
Okay, and fair point. But what I'm saying is, if you look back at the last 12 years of the Miami Heat and Pat Riley and LeBron James and the mechanics of the last decade on team building, and LeBron coming here, they got together, they won, then they broke up, and LeBron's machine moved and conquered in two cities, Cleveland, Lakers. He's golden for all time. He's right about, I can break free, and I too can rival Pat Riley now. I'll fight him on his ground. I'll be an owner. I'll be a media mogul. I'll have my group that Phil Jackson dismissed as a posse. I'll have my guys come up and we'll build something in Hollywood. And yes, with old guys, LeBron James squeezed the end of the machine, and that's how you look at player empowerment and you say, ooh, that's how it ends sometimes. That's ugly. And the Heat have rebuilt it. They've rebuilt it younger. They've, Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo. And now they're in the next evolution of the sport as Charles Barkley dismisses him because he's thinking about a different kind of basketball.
Let's stop paying attention to LeBron James. All-star from 11 seed sounds off on Twitter. Congrats, LeBron. You're Julius Randle. Get out of here. Suck.
Come on, he's an 18-time
No. That team
All-Star.
sucks. That team sucks.
Mike,
That
you
team
need to
sucks.
calm down. It's been
Compiler.
Mike,
He wants to be the 5th member of the Inside the NBA set.
Mike, you're revving too
You think?
hot.
Oh,
Mike.
for sure.
Really?
LeBron and the Lakers, they suck.
Mike, it's one game, and you need to.
You're Julius Randle.
Mike,
You suck.
Mike, it's one game, and you're crazed. You're a lunatic. You cannot keep this pace. You can't. It's one 30-point game.
Who cares what he says? Honestly,
Mike, there are 6 months of playoff games remaining.
You've got to dilute it, Mike. Mike, you cannot run at this. You cannot,
a marathon, Mike.
You will wear people out if this is what you're going to do for 2 months. If you're going to snort this for 2 months.
no one's going to talk about us today. They're rightfully so, I think, today because you talk about one of the greatest NBA games ever and one of the biggest spectacles in the first round we've ever seen in NBA history. But to talk about officiating, it's just they're only going to talk about the Miami Heat when Jimmy Butler is fighting with Eric Spoelstra or when they lose, because this team has been doing pretty much everything that they
But
needed
Mike,
to
that's
do
the
all
greatest
season long.
compliment in the age of the haters.
Under the radar, Mike.
That's the greatest compliment in the age of the haters and the critics who are cruel. Like, if you want to be emotional about this, that's the ultimate compliment. You only matter when you lose. Okay, if they'd lost by 30, it would have meant something different.
Well, then I guess that's why the Lakers mattered so much, because all they did was lose. They
But
suck.
you
No,
need
Dan,
to-
if they lost at all, it would have been something different. Not just by 30, if the Heat
but
just
so,
lost.
So they come out, and again, I'm going to say this again, because look, man, I don't want to totally normalize this, because basketball's really changed, and you are seeing people who can shoot like nobody you've ever seen shoot. And Duncan Robinson, PJ Tucker's played, near all of these champions, and he's telling you, holy shit, man, the way that guy shoots. And those were all contested, and that guy's coming off their bench.
Yeah,
He's coming off their bench being able to do that. Is it worth $90 million if every once in a while he can do that?
He did that in the bubble too, the first round series, I think, a little bit against Indiana. When he's super confident, when he's on a heater, he's as lights out as they come. I'm a little scared. We've had plenty of conversations about his public struggle with confidence a little bit, and I'm seeing these contested makes at that clip. We're kind of burning these up a little bit on an opponent that we don't need to burn them up. I'm a little worried that the law of averages is going to bite us at an inopportune time.
Save some for the later rounds.
But you de-escalate the tension for Duncan Robinson by not putting him in the starting lineup, because the thing about playoff basketball that eventually comes for you is the other team starts hunting you in switches. And what the Heat did, we can talk about Duncan Robinson three-point shooting, but it was defensively holding Trae Young to 1 for 12. It was ripping the ball away from him multiple times. And
at half court, Lowry picking his pocket, it was like, whoa.
You saw, Dan, I'm so happy you mentioned the traps and the defense, because everyone dismisses that bubble finals, right? I'm not even going to get into that. But that team was far lesser than this team. This team took PJ Tucker off the defending champions. This team has a former championship point guard in Kyle Lowry. Those are two massive improvements on a team that made the NBA Finals. Not talked about enough. They were suffocating last night. Suffocating.
You are insane.
PJ Tucker was a hell of a signing. They took him from Milwaukee.
Yep.
They put him here. Culture.
In Mike's defense, Dan, I will
no.
tell you, Dan, a couple of weeks into the season, I remember Mike saying, when healthy, the Heat are the best team in the NBA.
Okay, but it's
and he
one,
might be right.
Everybody,
it doesn't matter if no one agrees with him. I mean,
it's Phoenix.
My point is one game. It's just one game.
I'd like to
Calm
see
down.
that series. I'd like to see that series.
you won't.
What? Oh, because you don't trust that. This is not a Heat take. It's a Suns take.
Of course it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you believe so Stugotz and Mike Ryan are on the record. They are on the record after one Heat game. The Miami Heat are now, after Boston did that yesterday.
What, eke out a win at home against a 7 seed? Congrats, guys. Some of us had our business done midway through the second quarter.
We will get to that game in a second. Because you need to slow down.
Calm down, man.
Mike, I need you to
We got a hockey playoff coming up. I mean, there's a lot going on.
The hockey playoffs.
Thank God they spaced them out this year.
It's too early. It's Monday morning, Mike, and I'm telling you, you are blowtorching the audience. Let me just tell you,
if the Miami Heat won by 1 point and needed a buzzer beater against a 7 seed at home, I wouldn't have heard the end of it in my mentions.
Okay.
But now we're celebrating the Celtics like they won a title last night.
Can we stop
Congrats
for a
on
moment?
holding serve.
Okay.
The Highlight Championship should be on a Saturday night. We'll get to that later, though. Dan, I'm sorry.
I just can't keep this pace. Crazed lunacy after one game, after one weekend, when that Nets Celtics game had trending, okay, the phrase just, what a game. Like, just because
You wanted that first?
well, just look,
They're terrifying.
The reason I want Mike Ryan to just back off for a second is because the story of the day yesterday, I mean, that was unbelievable.
Cesta Cyclones.
It was unbelievable theater. Kyrie Irving on Team Troll Stugotz in one of the weirdest games you'll see from this perspective. It's like, oh, this really is like 2 against 5. This is, okay, they're going to just try. Kyrie is impossible to stop, and they're going to trap him. And then Kyrie is feuding with the audience, going back home, going back to Boston, double middle fingers behind his back. Oh, and when running through the tunnel, okay, somebody yells, "You suck, Kyrie," and his response is, "Suck my bleep, bleep." Because he's actively saying, I'm not going to keep taking this from you. You're not going to dehumanize me. And as they're talking about him, Stugotz, on the telecast, and Mike Breen says, the vaccination story, what a weird season for Kyrie Irving. What an unusual season. In the middle of that, he's got double middle fingers behind his head to the Celtics fans. He's doing like, I don't know, it starts as sort of like double ejaculations or dances like Trump. Like you don't know whether he was like about to do like a blowjob thing.
Phrasing.
Well, I just said it. The phrasing, I
Double
Wish
what?
I said it earlier.
double dong.
What's
That-
happening right now?
The motion also,
in England, it's called the wanker son.
Yeah.
He's
Right.
doing
Well,
the wanker.
that-
Also, the motion that you were signifying wasn't actually the form of ejaculation. It was a process that gets you there.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Thank you. And so in the middle of that, I don't know which it was, but then he goes to crybaby face. And so he's actively feuding. He's actively feuding with the Celtics audience, and it's great theater. And he's playing great in the fourth quarter, like totally unstoppable. Just where you're watching, you're like, that's not even fair. That's great defense they're playing on him, and he's just going to make threes in your face.
We're talking about Duncan Robinson again, yes?
No. And so this is the interesting game from yesterday. And at the end of it, Durant and Kyrie in a game of 2 against 5, at the end, their defense collapses and Marcus Smart does something great and puts Jason Tatum in the ridiculous position of a buzzer beater at the rim, which you just never get because they didn't call a timeout and they just kept the and
walk off.
And they played great defense at the end so that Kyrie couldn't get a shot off and then Durant got a bad shot off and there it was. Here's the game for the Celtics. 11 seconds left. This is the situation and they played great offense and they got Tatum a layup because I thought Marcus Smart was going to shoot. Tatum thought Marcus Smart was going to shoot.
Well, Tatum said that he was going in to crash the boards because he also thought Marcus Smart was going to shoot. But he got through that double team and then he saw Jason Tatum and had time to get him the ball.
But Durant and Kyrie Irving were the failures at the end. At the
were.
The glitch on the defense.
Well, Durant was bad all game.
No,
Dan.
but yes.
He was bad.
But on defense at the end, Tatum was his responsibility. He was flat-footed. Like that was the game spun. But the game spun at Tatum at the rim. The game spun right between physically Durant and Kyrie. They blew their assignment. and it's a layup because Marcus Smart had timing. Like that's Dak Prescott shit where we criticize Mike McCarthy for not knowing where a second is. The Celtics had 11 seconds. They did not call timeout. They got a layup between Durant and Kyrie because they blew their defensive assignments. And fuck you back, says Boston emotionally to Kyrie Irving. You lose at the rim. Your fault. You were great, not good enough.
It was instinctual from Tatum. It looked like ballet. It was beautiful to watch that game-winning layup that he had. Just instinctual players. I had this feeling yesterday when Manu rallied Joseph
for
around
the love of God.
match 2.
Okay.
I want to hear
All
about
right,
it.
no,
Because his
enough.
game is power, and you guys all said he had a dad bod, but he conserves all his energy because of how smart he is on the court. He's so efficient with his energy.
Are we going to have a parade?
Yes, I think, yes, as owner, it's my call. Yes, we're going to have a parade. Yes. You can get me to agree to anything right now. I've had such a wonderful weekend.
Day
Appearance
drinking?
fees?
Are you kidding me?
But you've taken over Chris Cody's team. He didn't
Let's
give it to
not even
you.
say his name anymore. He left that team at the altar. You cruise, you lose.
That's what Joseph says.